crossed herself and offered up a small prayer. Please, dear Lord, grant this miracle I ask of you, not for myself, but for Philippe. Daniel must reach here safely so he can take Philippe to America, to his mother and father. Chapter 1. The night was womb-like, with a dense, cloudy sky hanging overhead, as if suspended. Threatening, low-rolling thunder grumbled from its midst, setting Daniel Bishop's teeth on edge. All day he'd been jittery as he ambled aimlessly around his luxurious Fire Island summer home. He knew the condition of his nerves had nothing to do with the impending summer storm. His less-than-happy marriage was part of it, but not the only reason for his restlessness. There was something more, something lurking just out of reach, something intangible. His sixth sense issuing a dull warning. For as far back as he could remember, he'd had these feelings of foreboding, the inexplicable conviction that something was going to happen. These were free-floating, anxious feelings, ominous and hungry, as though wanting to be fed. Fed with... what was it this time? Daniel opened the sliding doors impatiently. Although he could hear the ocean slapping rhythmically just a few yards away, the heat of the night was oppressive. His shirt clung to him, and everything he touched was damp. Maybe the heat had something to do with his feelings. He watched as if in a trance as lightning skittered across the sky. An appropriate end to a boring 4th of July, he thought morosely. He was so keyed up right now he was capable of creating his own fireworks. Regine had cajoled him into coming to their summer place, insisting they both needed to get away from the bustle of Washington, D.C. Everyone leaves the city, darling. She'd repeated at least 100 times. It will be good for Cornelia. We can spend time together and not even plan out our holiday. Sort of leave it all open, maybe even picnic. Daniel laughed to himself with disgust. Picnic was an alluring term, but forage was about as close as he could get to the reality. The only thing left in the kitchen remotely resembling food was a stale, damp bag of pretzels. He peeled his shirt away from his chest. When he let go, it restuck itself to his skin with perverse tenacity. Maybe he should go for a swim. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught sight of another split-second bolt of lightning racing down into the Atlantic. No, swimming is not an option, he told himself. A drink, then. Alcohol was the one thing they always had plenty of. He'd never been more than a social drinker, preferring to keep his wits about him. He supposed it was the lawyer in him. They were so different, he and Regine. Like night and day, Reuben would say, and Reuben should know. Not only had they been best friends forever, but Reuben was married to someone just like Regine. Reuben, always the voice of authority and experience. Perhaps he should have paid more attention when Reuben had advised against his marrying Regine, but then Reuben had ignored him when he'd issued the same advice about B.B. Rosen. A pity neither of them had corrected their mistakes early. A divorce didn't make one a pariah anymore, and he should know. In his day he'd handled plenty of top-drawer divorces, some full of scandal and all full of bullshit. He'd seen his wife exactly twice during the past 4 days. Once she'd waltzed through the beach house to change her clothes for an afternoon cocktail party. The next time she'd put in an appearance, it was to replenish someone's dwindling liquor supply. He hadn't seen much of Cornelia either, but at least his stepdaughter called and breezed through every few hours. A smile tugged at the corners of his mouth at the thought of her. Sweet Nellie, with the sun-streaked golden hair and bottle-green eyes. In his thoughts, Nellie was always the young innocent, shy and ever so considerate. He loved her as though she were his own, and the moment he'd signed the adoption papers, she truly had become his own. She was 18 now, and in September would head for California and UCLA. He was going to miss her terribly. She was as pretty as a picture, he mused, and the one thing he could never understand was why she didn't have more friends. Every so often a horde of young people would descend upon the household for a few weeks, and then they would disappear, to be replaced months later with new faces.